Welcome back. So, late getting things started on the review because, of course, the game in California had to go to a long shootout. It had to be a long shootout because it's the California game. It's the last California game. It's a tradition. If it starts at 7:30, there you go. All right, I'm not going to waste time. Philadelphia Buffalo. Buffalo should have won this game. Buffalo was the better team through two periods, and they just fell apart. And I haven't seen an example of a team having absolutely zero confidence this badly in a very long time. Like, I know there's been times as a Canuck fan where it's been, early this season, there were times where it was bad. This is a whole next level. Canucks' case was just they were always allowing the first goals, they were always behind. Buffalo's inventing ways to lose. So early shots were for the Flyers. Skinner had a chance that went through the crease. Power play for the Sabres. That's killed off. In fact, there was a shorthanded chance for Kevin Hayes during that power play. But the shots were 5-2 for the Sabres at 9 minutes. They were playing well. The Sabres with a turnover, but the Flyers overpassed on that. And then Yoki Haru would score from Lazar and Okposo at 17:41. And it was right through the 5-hole. So you're thinking, all right, so maybe Elliott's a little shaky. This might be good news if you're looking for Buffalo to end the losing. Ullmark then caught a shot from Provorov, and the Sabres had a power play in the final minute. They're up 1-0 after one. Second period, the Flyers easily killed off the remainder of that penalty. It was just not great. However, Eakin scores after it ends from Reeder and Sheahan at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. That made it 2-0 in favor of Buffalo. The Flyers then tried to answer, but the Sabres would press at 4 minutes, and they were in complete control of this game. No word of a lie. There was a near goal for the Sabres at 7 minutes. The Flyers got some chances, and big saves from Ullmark. Ullmark has definitely improved their goaltending since he returned. But Montour, he would score from Thompson and Hall at 12:43. That made it 3-0. And not only that, the Sabres then pressed for more. So as we're rolling down to the end of the second period here, the Flyers get robbed by Ullmark with 2:05 left, and the Sabres come out of the second period up 3-0. And it's like, you know what? This has been a really good game for Buffalo. It'd be an absolute shame for Philadelphia's playoff chances if they lost to Buffalo, but hey, this has been a great game. And then, well, the third period happened, and there are disastrous results that cause coaches to be fired. If Don Granato didn't just take over, I would look at this result and go, might be the end of the road for that coach. So Hayes scores from Sanheim at 150. Now, the Sabres did press for an answer after that. They didn't play overly bad in the third period. Not in the beginning. The Flyers get some chances at 4 minutes. There was a power play for the Flyers, and it's killed off. However, shortly after the midway mark, Giroux scores from Couturier and Voracek at 10:51, and this is where the lack of confidence was showing, where their passes were rushed or poorly thought out, and they didn't have any belief in themselves being able to close out the game. They had a 3-0 lead, and once it was 3-2, the whole game flipped on its ear. And it was Flyers. The Flyers pressed for the tie. They get a power play. And the Sabres did kill that off, but there was a lot of opportunities, and there was a lot of pressure for that Philadelphia power play. Skinner then backhanded one wide with 2:05 left. The Flyers call a timeout. They pull the goaltender. They're down 3-2. So this is still Buffalo's game, but with 1:29 left, Couturier ties it from Provorov and Giroux, and this might be the biggest collapse I've seen, other than maybe the Toronto-Ottawa. But even that was more of a case of Toronto taking it easy and lightening up. This is a case of a team just, I don't know, that first goal goes in and second goal goes in, and then they just turned into Buffalo. And it didn't take long in overtime. So you're thinking, well, maybe if Buffalo, the first shot goes in. Provorov from Konechny at 42 seconds. The Flyers escape with a victory 4-3. In overtime, they go to 17-13-4. Count their lucky stars. Buffalo gets a point, so they're 6-23-5. They've now lost 18 in a row. And there you go. Buffalo may not win another game this year. Shots in this one, 13-8 Buffalo in the first, 12-9 Philadelphia in the second, 15-10 Philadelphia in the third, and then in the overtime, just the one shot. Final shots, 36-32 in favor of Philadelphia. Both power plays 0 for 2. Elliott, 29 saves on 32 shots. Ullmark, 32 saves on 36 shots. And again, you're like, oh, well, Buffalo can't invent new ways to lose. They've lost every way possible over 17 games. Game 18, 3-0 entering the third, and they still lost. So when this losing streak ends, if this losing streak ends, I'll have to do a video on the streak and how it happened and how many games they actually had leads in during this period. Not very many, but still. All right, next up, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh loves playing the Islanders, and it's weird because this division has been kind of hard to predict in terms of which teams are going to perform well against others. Pittsburgh, though, they play the Islanders game. Both the last game and this game, they beat the Islanders playing their own game. So the Pens get the early edge, and they had an early power play as well. There was a shorthanded chance for Nelson. He doesn't score. At 4:24 during that same power play, Angelo gets a goal from Marino and Matheson. And the Pens are just getting the better chances. So the shots would tell you that the Islanders at points in this game were out shooting Pittsburgh. But as far as chances go, Pittsburgh was pretty consistent and pretty good. Pressed by the Pens at the half. Crosby had a chance that was stopped as they pressed. The Pens, as I said, beating the Islanders at their own game. They draw a power play late, do the Penguins. Letang, though, he kind of loses it. And so they go 4 for 4, or 4 on 4 for a minute and 22 seconds. Maybe Letang knew something we didn't. During the 4 on 4, McCann scores from Marino and Matheson at 18:28, and it was a sloppy line change for the Islanders that helped lead to that goal. Notice Marino and Matheson assists on both goals. John Marino's finally getting points, as I knew he'd eventually start putting points on the board. And then there was a crossbar for Crosby seconds after that, so that almost made it 3-0. We go to the second period, and that's the first time this year that the Islanders have allowed 2 goals in the first period in back-to-back games, both obviously against Pittsburgh. Second period, DeSmith started the second. Jarry was gone. He wasn't even on the bench. So Jarry played the first period, didn't come back for the rest of the game. Pajot hits the outside of the net, ends up taking a penalty, so the Penguins with the power play. And that was just when the Islanders looked like they were starting to make their comeback. So we get an extended 4 on 4 before the Islanders get their chance on the power play. And then they get another power play after that expires. And Martin scores on that power play from Barzal and Eberle at 9 minutes and 22 seconds. Much better period overall for the New York Islanders in that second period. DeSmith stopped Martin with 1 minute and 45 seconds left. Last minute, the Islanders get a power play. And the Penguins, I thought, were fortunate the Islanders didn't get the tying goal during that fracas in the last 30 seconds. Like, it was crazy the last 30 seconds there, and it doesn't go in. So you start the third period. Clearly the Penguins figured this out, or the Islanders got cold, because they finished the penalty kill off to start the third, and it really wasn't that bad. The shots were 6-3 for the Penguins, 7.5 minutes in. Cizikas had a net drive. That was a near miss. We end up with Crosby having a net drive that's defended at the other end of the ice. The Penguins were definitely playing the trap. And for the Islanders, they were caught against a team that was playing their style. Not a lot of whistles, not a lot of penalties, comparatively speaking. And most of the penalties that were called were ones you got to call. Goalie pull with 2.5 minutes left. With 54.4 seconds left, the Islanders iced it. And this was where they'd already had to put the goaltender back in anyways. So Varlamov was stuck in the net for a lot of that end of the game time where you're looking for your 6-on-5 for a potential goal. So Pittsburgh holds on. They win 2-1. They go to 23-11-2. The Islanders drop to 22-10-4. A huge victory for Pittsburgh. Shots 9-5 Pittsburgh in the first, 14-6 Islanders in the second, 7-6 Pittsburgh in the third as they shut it down. Final shots 25-22 for the Islanders. Power plays, the Islanders 1 for 4. Pittsburgh 1 for 3. Varlamov saves 20 out of 22. Jarry saved all 5 in the first period, and then DeSmith comes in, saves 19 out of 20. So that should allay some fears that DeSmith goes in and he plays pretty well. But we'll see how long Jarry's out, what's going on with him, and why he wasn't back for the second period. I haven't heard anything yet. But again, I watch the games and then I do this review, and then I'll scour the internet after. So, all right, that's why that happens. Oilers. So this was a matchup that it was important that in the last matchup of the year that the Oilers show Toronto doesn't completely own us. And I thought they did a good job tonight. Now for Toronto, fans may point out, well, Hutchinson was in the net. I thought Hutchinson played pretty well. Not as well as Smith. So it was Smith against Hutchinson. There was an Oilers 2-on-1. It was a near miss. There was no shot on that. Matthews fired high and wide and close. And then the Oilers opened the scoring. It's Archibald from Chris Russell and Jujhar Khaira at 6:15. And that's the first time that the Oilers had scored first against the Leafs in 5 games. So right there, you're like, hey, maybe the Oilers have a chance tonight. Smith then denied Hyman at the other end, but not long after, Marner scores from Hyman and Dermott at 7:59. So they had a lead for a little less than 2 minutes. And then a few minutes after that, Matthews gets on the board. Austin Matthews with a goal from Marner and Hall at 11:08. And I was thinking this game could be ugly. This could be a game that's a ton of goals, right? The North really hasn't been playing that way lately, not compared to how it was early in the season. And the Oilers in that period just were not getting enough shots. So it's 2-1 for Toronto after one, and the Oilers looked like they were pretty well controlled. So second period, Smith stopped a good chance for Tavares. Marner had a chance to stop. The Leafs were pressing. Then there were some dangerous Oilers chances at around the 5-minute mark. Shore hits the side of the net. There were no penalties at all in the first half of this game. Very clean game overall. And then neither team had much space either. The Leafs get the game's first power play. Shore had a good chance shorthanded for the Oilers. And then in the last minute, there was a press by the Leafs. We go to the third period, and the score is the same as it was coming out of the first. Still 2-1. Early chance for the Oilers, and then they score. And it's Kyle Turris who scores from Larson and Nugent-Hopkins at 1 minute and 20 seconds. The Oilers press after that. They draw their first and only power play of the game. Line shuffling going on for the Leafs. They end up killing off that power play. Defense was taking over. It already felt like it was overtime. Once Toronto tied it, it was like both teams were playing for the point after that. At least that's how it felt. The Oilers press with 6 minutes left. Matthews had a chance, and then his skate. So Barry's down on the ice, and Matthews kind of wipes out, and he kicks Barry in the face with his skate. And honestly, we are so fortunate that Barry wasn't bleeding everywhere. I don't know how. I don't want to know how. If it's, well, his skate wasn't very sharp, that's why he fell down. Good. That was scary. And Tyson Barrie was okay. He was on the bench. But he had to be counting his lucky stars. Because I have seen skates that make less contact that cause a lot of damage. So that's one of those plays we do not want to see in hockey. Last moments, the Oilers buzz. They can't score. So we go to overtime. They fixed it in overtime. Smith denied Matthews at 10 seconds. The puck goes the other way. McDavid to Nurse, and at 17 seconds, the Oilers score. We want this matchup in the playoffs. I don't know if it's in first round or second round. We want this matchup in the playoffs. McDavid versus Matthews, Edmonton versus Toronto. Two fan bases against each other that other fan bases might enjoy seeing fight with one another. Shots were 13-6 Toronto in the first, 9-7 Edmonton in the second, 10-7 Toronto in the third. Both teams had one shot. Like I said, the Matthews chance, and then Nurse the other way. Final shots, 31-23 for Toronto. Both teams went 0 for 1 on the power play. Smith, 29 saves on 31 shots. Hutchinson, 20 saves on 23 shots. But again, I thought he played relatively well. And we're supposed to see Campbell in the next game on Wednesday. All right, let's change boards. Next up, Anaheim. Anaheim were in way over their heads tonight. Way over their heads tonight. Ryan Miller showed up, and they managed to get a couple of goals on not a lot of shots. That's about the end of the good news for the Ducks. So it was Miller versus Grubauer. Avs get the early shot, and they get the early goal. Rantanen scoring from McKinnon at 2:56. That's his 20th. The Avs were in total control. Lots of shots. Burakovsky had a chance that went high. The Avs ended up getting a power play. Miller saved it. They killed it off, and then right after that power play ended, Heinen scores from Comtois and Hutton at 9:14. It was Comtois that had just come out of the box. So Heinen gets a goal, and then the Ducks end up getting a power play. So it's 1-1. Ducks getting a power play. The Avs end up getting another power play after that's killed off. And there was a press by the Avs in the last 2 minutes. But it's 1-1 after one, right? Well, not for long. Second period, 3:59 in. Jost scores from Graves and Nichushkin. And this period was complete and total domination by the Avalanche. This was where Ryan Miller earned his money tonight. Solid shift by that line led to that goal. Delorier then got a chance. It ended up hitting the post. The shots were 7-2 for the Avs at 9 minutes. The Ducks wouldn't get another shot for the rest of the period. Miller saved a shot from Donskoy. The Avs get a power play. We then get 52 seconds of 4-on-4 when the Avs take a penalty. The Avs then go back to the power play, and I wrote right there, playing with fire, because you can only give these guys so many opportunities before they're going to burn you. And Landeskog does that for them from Makar and McKinnon at 16 minutes and 20 seconds. Things then get kind of scrummy with 1 minute and 28 seconds left, and I wrote, Miller is the only reason this isn't 6-1. Honestly, coming out of that period, it's 3-1. You might look at that and go, Miller's probably not making a lot of saves. Yeah, no, there was 34 shots through those first two periods. Third period, Miller denied Belmar, and then Troy Terry would score at 3:19. So it's 3-2. The shots are 36-11. The score's 3-2. It's one of those games where it's kind of dangerous, where you're thinking, they could blow this, couldn't they? I mean, if Miller keeps standing on his head, it doesn't stay a one-goal game for long. JT Compher scores his third of the year from O'Connor and Makar at 7:26. So that's 2 assists for Makar so far. He's not done on the night. And that one was under Miller's arm. It was a great shift by that line. And then Nichushkin scores from Makar and Donskoy at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Nichushkin just put it in the net. Makar did all the work. Absolutely great rush by Makar around the net. And just Nichushkin, thanks. It's in the net. Cool. So Nichushkin started getting goals. Getzlaf then had a fight with Belmar. And reminds us Getzlaf can fight if he needs to. Power play then for the Avs. It ends up being 1 minute and 47 seconds of 5-on-3. But the Ducks killed that off in part because it's already 5-2. So Avs probably not going for more. They end up winning it 5-2. They go to 22-8-4 for the Ducks, 11-20-6. After encouraging games against St. Louis, this is a little more sobering and a reminder that these guys are at the bottom of the division. Shots favor Colorado a bit. 12-7 in the first, 22-2 in the second, 14-6 in the third. Final shots 48-15 for Colorado. Power plays, Anaheim 0 for 2 and Colorado 1 for 6. Miller saved 43 out of 48 shots. Grubauer saved 13 out of 15. There were times during this that Grubauer could have been sitting down in his crease and playing cards, playing some solitaire, because the puck wasn't coming anywhere near him. Might as well give him something to do. Because, yeah, especially that second period, that was something. But again, it attests to just how good defensively Colorado is. As much as we talk about their forwards, we talk about their goaltending, their defense is excellent. So the number of really prime chances Grubauer gets per game, they're not a lot. So at the end of the year, when they start doing voting on Vezina, that may hurt him at the end. They may look at his numbers and say, well, yeah, but look at how many shots he faced. And they may compare it to, say, Connor Hellebuck. We'll see. We'll see if that happens. Next up is Connor Hellebuck and the Winnipeg Jets. This felt so much like the Canucks games against the Jets. Like, it just felt really, really familiar. There's an early Flames power play, and they score. It's Lindholm from Tkachuk and Gaudreau at 2:24. And honestly, the Flames played well tonight. I'm going to go on and say it. Dubois drilled Tanev into the boards. I will agree with Kelly Rudy. I thought that could have been boarding. And rightfully, the Flames take umbrage with that, and they're not very happy. So they go in to give him, 4? So the Jets get a power play out of Dubois trying to murder Tanev. I don't know. I'm not saying like it was a really vicious or anything, but it should have been a 2-minute penalty. It should have been offsetting. It should have been 4-on-4. So, yeah, they get a power play out of it. But that doesn't succeed. The Flames then get their second power play, which was dangerous. It had three shots on that one. The Jets survived. The Flames would press with about 6 minutes left. The Jets would then get their opportunities at the other end. Control for the Jets in that final 5 minutes. And the Jets scored. It was Thompson. And it was, did he kick it? So they had to review it, asking the question, did he kick the puck in the net? And they determined there was no distinct kicking motion. I'm fine with it. And I'm going to say that they could have gone either way on it. It's a goal. So it's a goal. DeMello and Lewis get the assists at 16-19. And then Scheifele would score from Connor and Ehlers at 18-13. And tonight was a good example of why Nick Ehlers is just so dangerous. He had a great game. Things get kind of scrummy in the final minute because the Flames know how desperately they need this game before they go on the road. They're playing Vancouver next, right? Second period, Flames had the early jump. And you wouldn't know it looking at the scoring, but the Flames in that first period played well, and they played well in the second as well. But then Scheifele scored from Ehlers and Connor at 3:31. So it felt like the Flames would get chances and the Jets would get a goal. The Flames would get chances and the Jets would get a goal, which feels kind of like the Canucks get chances and the Jets get a goal. It felt very, very familiar. Makes sense. There's a lot of former Canucks in Calgary, so just doing what their buddies do. Mangiapane then nearly answered. There was a three-way pass, too, by the Flames that was going on there that very nearly clicked, but didn't quite. Good defense from the Jets there. The Flames get another power play. It is unsuccessful because Hellebuck made some fantastic saves during that power play. Absolutely fantastic. Pionk then had a shot that trickled through after that power play ended, but it was cleared by the Flames. Kopp, however, would score from Ehlers and Scheifele at 14:31. It's 4-1 Jets. There were opportunities for the Flames. They just weren't going in. Hellebuck wasn't being nice. There's a late Flames power play, and that produces a shorthanded 2-on-1 that misfired, and then the Flames got a chance at the other end. But things stay the same. So we go to the third, David Rittich's in. So Markstrom's out, Rittich's in. Again, we can have that debate on Markstrom and his play and how much his contract is and all that. I'm sure it'll be a discussion in the offseason with Calgary. They were supposed to have fixed their goaltending, and I'm not sure if the answer to that is yes yet. Dubois scores from Wheeler and Stastny at 104. And I put right there, feels like Jets versus Canucks, because it was just, that's in. All right, cool. So that happened. Hellebuck was still sharp while they were up by 4. It's not like he had any kind of letdown. And they didn't allow a lot of shots. They only allowed 5 in that third period. It was remarkable. The Flames were pressing at the half. They didn't get much out of it. The Jets end up getting a power play. There were no shots on the Jets' power play. And then they had a discussion about Logan Stanley and his first goal and how he swore, and it was clearly heard on camera. And they're like, well, it's colorful language. And then the suggestion of him, he should have said, golly gee, that felt good. That would have been awesome. So let's go ahead and attribute that quote to Logan Stanley, and just that's what he said after he scored his first goal. Not effing rights, which was awesome, but golly gee, that felt good. That works. So the Jets win this one 5-1. For the Jets, they go to 22-12-2. The Flames now have a 16-8-3 record. That is the exact same record sported by the Vancouver Canucks, and now they're coming into Vancouver to play the Canucks. So Montreal's very happy tonight because Calgary and Vancouver have both played 6 more games than they have, and there's no sign of things turning around. And the Jets are enjoying putting both of them down. So the shots in this one favored Calgary just a little bit. 12-11 in the first, 13-12 in the second. In the third, Winnipeg outshoots them 6-5. The final shots, 30-29 for the Flames. Power plays, Winnipeg goes 0 for 2. Calgary goes 1 for 4. Hellebuck saves 29 out of 30. Game breaker. He's fantastic. He's great. Markstrom, team breaker, really. 19 saves on 23 shots for Markstrom, and Rittich 5 saves on 6 shots. So Markstrom's numbers continue to be a little bit below average in the Calgary net, and whether you want to say that's the defense or you want to say that's on Markstrom, I don't know. It's up to people watching. But at some point I'll do a video where we discuss goaltending again, and because it's always an interesting discussion, isn't it? And where Calgary's at and whether or not they have fixed the goaltending problem. All right, next up, LA. So the Kings, it felt like they came out and they started really well, and then it just stopped. And so 1 minute into this game, they have a lead. Roy scores his second from Velarde and Carter. So it's like, cool. Roy with his new contract. Velarde, rookie, he's on the board. And Jeff Carter with an assist. That's not too shabby. The Kings then press for another right after. The Kings look great. Tuck was looking for a breakaway. Alex Tuck is in a slump now. I think he has 1 goal in the last 10, is what they said, and that was an empty netter. So yeah, he's fighting it, and he's trying for that big goal, the home run pass that he's very good at when he can get, but when it doesn't click, it just doesn't click. Leonard saved a Walker slap shot. I thought Leonard played very well tonight when tested. The Kings get a power play. That's killed off. Most of the first half of that period, though, was in Vegas's end. And it felt like this was very much a game that the Kings realized how important this was. But it's Vegas. So Quick denied Carlson as Vegas woke up. Vegas woke up in the second half of the period. Vegas starts really rolling in that second half of the period. In the last minute, Quick stopped a good chance for Kolasar. So they come out of the first period up 1-0, and they need to turn the momentum. They don't. Another strong start for the Kings in the second, but then Vegas ends up with the power play. And on the power play, it's Riley Smith with, I think, his first point in 9 games is what they said, from Marchessault and Stone at 4 minutes and 4 seconds. That tied it up. Tuck then broke up a chance for Kempe as the Kings tried to answer. We get a delay of game call. Kings get a power play, and that was just a no. It's just Vegas isn't allowing anything on that power play. Vegas pressed after that penalty kill ended. They get a power play of their own. That was killed off as well. Scoring chances favored Vegas, and then they start putting them in. First, it's Nosek scoring from White Cloud and Reeves at 16:28, and a little over a minute later, it's Haig from Marchessault at 17:54. And worse than that, then you get a delay of game call against LA, and Vegas goes to the power play. So we go to the third period. Vegas 14-0 when they're leading after 2 coming into today. They're pretty good at finishing out games when they have a lead. They're also pretty good at coming back when they're behind going into the third. Kings didn't have much room early. Kings only had 1 shot 6 minutes into this period. Now, Vegas didn't have any either, but that's not really a problem for Vegas. They're not worried about getting more shots. Few whistles, pretty fast first half, and then Martinez, he scores. He's a former King, remember, from Kolasar and Theodore at 12:35. So that made it 4-1. The Kings then get a power play. That was a no yet again. Tuck, he was denied at one end, and that was later in the game. That was the last minute of the game, last 20 seconds actually, and that was after Leonard had denied Lizotte. Lizotte. Okay, there, I got it. And that was in the last minute. So Lizotte had a chance to try to at least get a second on the board. Tuck tried to end his struggles, and neither goes through. So 4-1's your final. Vegas goes to 24-8-1. LA drops to 13-14-6. And again, St. Louis has left that door open. The teams chasing them are not doing what they need to do, except maybe, right? Maybe. So the shots in this one favored LA in the first 13-9, and then they favor Vegas. 9-7 in the second, 6-5 in the third. Final shots 25-24 for the Kings. LA 0-3 on the power play. Vegas 1-3. Jonathan Quick's 20 saves on 24 shots. Leonard 24 saves on 25 shots at the other end. So Leonard, he's won. I think they said he's won 6 in a row now. Not too shabby. All right, moving along. Minnesota. So this is the reason why this review was so late getting started, is because, of course, this goes to a shootout, which games in California at the end of the night when they start at 7:30, they like to do. This dates back for 3 years on the channel now where this happens. And early on in this one, well, it was kind of fighty. VL making his NHL debut, he had a fight with Johnson. VL was in for Curtis Gabriel. And there's been some, I don't know, there's been some discussion with Gabriel about how he plays, and, you know, he's picking fights, but does he win fights, and all this stuff. And I like Gabriel's energy level, but clearly they decided to give VL a shot tonight and see what happens. The Sharks were the sharper team early in this game. They really were. Hurdle stopped as the Sharks pressed. The shots were 4-0 in their favor at 7 minutes. Donato had a backhand that saved. Meyer nearly gets one at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. And then the Wild kind of woke up at the half. They started getting the puck out of their zone. Talbot denied Donato. The shots were 8-1 at that point. And then Fiala gets a break. He's denied, but right after that, Johansson gets the goal from Fiala at 12:41. So San Jose dominates the first half of the first period, and they're down 1-0. So this, again, that's very familiar for San Jose games. 17-2 was the record for Minnesota when they score first. So San Jose did something tonight that most teams haven't been able to do. The Sharks tried to answer, and then they do. It's Schimmick getting the goal from Donato and Leonard at 16:04, a goal that was originally given to Donato, and they changed it. But before the period's out, 1 minute left in the period, Bonino, he scores at 19 minutes from Eriksson Ek and Greenway. So Minnesota's up 2-1 in a period that I thought San Jose played really, really well, but they come out of it behind. Second period. Strong first 5 minutes for the Wild. They press at the 5.5 minute mark as well. Johansson with a near miss. The Sharks were hemmed in, but they survived. They don't allow another goal there. Jones made some saves at 8 minutes. It's all Minnesota at this stage of the game. The Sharks get a power play. Hurdle's chance was stopped by Talbot. They kill off that power play. But then Karlsson, he scores from Kane at 15:45. Kane had a fantastic turnover he created, and Karlsson went up the ice with him. You know, the funny thing with Karlsson is this is an argument tonight for putting Karlsson at forward. I'm not sure why it has never happened, but tonight's an example of why it might be good to put him at forward at least once in a while. You can dress 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, and give Karlsson a couple of shifts at forward. Worked for Burns back in the day. It might work for him. So yeah, that was a nice one. And then in the last minute, there was a chance for Rask. And the Sharks stole it from him before he had the chance to get a really good chance. So it's 2-2 after 2 periods. Third period. Ferraro had a chance, was stopped by Talbot. VL had a really good shift. They were spotlighting him a lot. It's his first game, and he's not a name that's like a household name or anything. And since there's so many Sharks who have made their debut this year, why not take a look at him? And yeah, Karlsson then scores from Donato and Gambrell at 4:11, posting in. Again, Karlsson... nice shot from the point, posting in. That's the first multi-goal game that Erik Karlsson's had since, I think it was October of 2017. It's been a while, so maybe it's a chance for Karlsson to prove himself, right? Zuccarello then fired one wide. There was a post for Johansson at the other end, and then Fiala. Fiala scores from Dumba and Johansson at 9 minutes and 48 seconds. Rask then had a near miss where he was going for the lead. The Wild kept getting close to a goal, but we get to overtime because it's the West Coast. In overtime, the Sharks controlled early. There was a post for Timo Meier. The Wild scored. Yay, but it's a high stick. It was pretty obvious. Although, when you looked at it on the replay, they might have wanted to take a look at it. They didn't. When he contacts it, was it still above the... it's fine. He didn't argue too much, so he probably knew it was high stick anyways. Chances both ways. There was only one shot each, but... chances both ways. We go to the shootout. 8 rounds, and it's Erik Karlsson that gets the shootout winner. San Jose wins 4-3. They go to 14-16-4 with that shootout win. For Minnesota, they drop to 21-10-2. So Minnesota does get a point out of this. Shots 18-7 San Jose in the first, 9 apiece in the second, 11-8 San Jose in the third, and then in the overtime, both teams had one shot. Final shots 39-25 for San Jose. Power plays, none for Minnesota, 1 for San Jose, and they didn't score on it. Talbot, 36 saves on 39 shots, and Jones, 22 saves on 25 shots. Pretty entertaining game. Let me know your thoughts regarding any of these 7 games. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.